Hello, welcome to Nerdified, you nerds. I'm here with
The Wilhelm Scream.
Cranberry Lanterns.
and I am the Cape is a Lie, with a channel that is soon to be made, but may never be made, and who knows what's going on right now, but we'll figure it out someday. Today, we are talking about Guardians of the Galaxy, and specifically the holiday special. First off, guys, what is your favorite Guardian?
I would say I love the style of Star-Lord early in the comics.
Hmm.
I think Star-Lord's probably still my favorite.
I liked the. I think Rocket Raccoon before. So previous to any of the movies, there was a limited run, and I really liked it with Rocket Raccoon just pulling out oversized, gigantic guns and everything, and being ultra violent, animalistic, and all that. I love that. But I also did like what they did with Star-Lord. Again, before they killed him and then brought him back, and before all the movies, I really liked Star-Lord, especially after he lost his powers.
Yeah.
And he was still on the team. He was still leader of the team. I really liked that. But I think Rocket Raccoon slightly beats him out.
If we're going comics, I'm
Right
going
there.
Rocket Raccoon. I'm right there with you. If we're going movies, I love Drax, man. Like nothing
You
goes
love
over my
Dave
head. My
Bautista.
too fast. That line is classic, and I am never gonna forget that line. I don't think anybody else will either. Now, with that being said, the holiday special, what did you guys think of it?
I was honestly surprised. I thought it was going to be a throwaway kind of short that was just kind of there just to promote the fact that the third movie was going to come out, Volume 3. And I was like, all right, well, I'll give it a chance. It'll be something probably fairly mundane, not super interesting. And I kind of was on the fence about it all the way through until the last minute. Literally the last minute. Which, spoiler alert, the last minute actually tipped it over the edge for me, and I ended up really liking it,
Cool.
which I was surprised by.
Well, if it's a spoiler, you can say why.
Well,
Are we giving spoilers right away?
Well, you just said spoiler.
All right, so spoiler alert. I do recommend watching it. It's great.
Is that a spoiler?
For the ending, but be ready. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Mantis is Peter Quill's sister.
That's so stupid. That is so dumb.
She is
I
a
didn't get it on
descendant.
that.
She's a descendant of Ego the Living Planet,
That's
aka
stupid.
Kurt Russell, Daddy Russell, Planet Face, and the moment that they have at the end where he finds out that he has a sister,
Stupid.
and it's one of his closest friends.
Closest friends. How do you go to closest friends? You've been around each other like, I don't know, maybe a couple of years. She's the closest friend. You've had all these other people for how long, and she's now your closest friend? She's some rando you picked up on a planet. Your dad. She's a parasite that you picked up off of your dad.
Hold on.
Yeah, we've all been there.
By the way,
I have an explanation for that one.
By the way, out of all the characters, out of all the Guardians of the Galaxy, well, if you're counting her, I guess she's been counted. I actually like her better than all the other characters.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh,
In this
interesting.
or in the comics?
Okay, so
Not in the comics.
for the reasoning
Or if
of
she
Mantis
doesn't look
being
like her.
one of the closest friends, like even more so than, say, Rocket or Drax, Mantis has the ability to feel other people's feelings and understand their emotions. That's part of her power set. So when you have that kind of connection with somebody, she has an insight into others that everybody else doesn't have.
Emotional shorthand.
Exactly.
Yeah. And for me, that last scene where they finally show Peter Quill like, hey, I'm your sister, I legitimately felt something. Like when they embrace and they tell each other that they love each other and that he's so happy that he has a sister now. And so happy that it's her. And she was feeling so like nervous and trying to hide it and all that other stuff. Didn't know how to tell him. And ultimately, I actually felt something, and I didn't think I would, because a lot of the Disney
Was it like
shows
a physical thing, or
felt it deep in my bones,
deep down?
deep in
And you have
my
to also
inside
think,
spots.
like, as far as Peter Quill, Star-Lord, is concerned, you know, he lost Gamora. You know,
Yeah.
so there's that void of the person that he was closest to not being there anymore.
That was also
And-
stupid.
Oh.
I
I know what you're going to say before you say
hate
it.
the dumb emotional beats where they go, we want someone to feel something emotional. We'll kill somebody off. No,
She's
that's
not dead.
lazy, terrible story writing. Anyways. So
Technically, the Gamora that he loved is dead.
yeah, she died.
Right.
If you go to a different dimension, it doesn't
Gamora.
make you the same person.
But comic rules,
it's a different.
you can have anybody
that's
come
from the
back.
crap. That's from the craps. That's from the crap. What is it? That's the crap. Standard or whatever. That's this crap standard that they go with now. That they started around 2010. No, you're not. If you take someone from a different dimension and you put them here, it's not the same person. That's what made other stories before then really good. You're like, oh, you look like that person. We have these things in common. No, you're not that person. That person's actually dead. You can't have a shorthand. They're actually dead. They're gone. They're dead. They died a painful thing. You should learn to actually work through that. So that's not what happens. And the stupid writers at Marvel and DC they're so terrible at writing, and they're so incapable of having such complex emotional development and internal feelings and logic. It's so hard for them that they can't do that. So they just go, man in red and white and blue suit go in place where other man in red and white and blue suit go. This is same man. Yes, they are happy. Everything is good. No, you're
was she brought
really
back,
not smart person.
Was she brought back with the snap? Was she brought back to life with the snap?
No, she was not brought back with the snap. That was already established because
was hers the time travel thing?
I believe hers was the time travel thing.
Okay.
Yeah. She died getting sacrificed.
So
by
obviously
Thanos.
Her dying at that point in the timeline, them going back in time and getting her version that's alive, you're saying that's not the same person even though they're following the same timeline?
If someone dies,
hold on. There's still the possibility that Gamora could fall in love with Star-Lord, because
if someone dies in the future,
now.
If someone dies in the future, if someone dies in the past, that's a different person than some other person at that time. Why? Because once you have new inputs, new environmental impacts on you, your brain develops. You have offshoots in your neurons. You have a different personality. It can be slight, it can be major. Probably one of the major things that differentiates you from one person to another in this instance would be one is dead and the other one's alive. Those are two different things. Life happened different for those people. It's not the same person. If you go back and you change someone and they come back, you have killed one person, or one person ceases to exist in one timeline, and then the other person is alive in the other. The fact that other people remember this person is proof that the other event happened and the other people exist. Therefore, that person died. That person is ended. It doesn't matter if you go back in time. Doesn't matter if you go back in the future. You're talking about
I'm going to simplify this. I'm going to simplify this real quick. There is a deviance in the timeline. Therefore, if there's a deviance in the timeline, you have two separate timelines, meaning deviance, deviation.
Deviance would be me looking at hentai with tentacles and a bunch of like random horses and goats and stuff. Okay, and
I don't know what that is, but anyway,
deviation. Deviation is what you're looking for.
And there's a deviation in the timeline and caused a deviation.
Okay? They're different words.
All right, sure. Yes, I agree with you. Sure. Deviation.
Yes. I am not a deviation. I am a deviant. Okay. Anyway.
Anyways,
But
deviation.
if you look at any general comic reader, you're gonna find a deviant.
You're
in
gonna
there,
find some
okay?
deviants.
There's gonna be a deviant.
They're messing
Not
up
really
the
a surprise.
timeline, being perverts.
The reason they're reading comics is probably, you know. I mean, I'm just saying.
I was going
Fight me.
IANTE,
Nope.
not IANTS. If that's what you guys are
Nobody
going
wants to look into this to validate it. There's no group that's going to do a study on this. They
Okay.
don't want to know the answer.
Okay, I get it. I get the point here, guys. Deviation in the timeline. So there is a deviation as far as the people are concerned. You have the Gamora that died, and you have the Gamora from the past before her death, right?
Sure.
These are technically one and the same Gamora with the same personality traits, but they are different people altogether because of the deviation in the timeline. That is the easiest way to explain this. Now you move that forward, and here's my point. If that is the same Gamora from the past that died when Thanos killed her, throwing her over the cliff, there is still the possibility of her in that future where she skips that part of her timeline to fall in love with Peter Quill Star-Lord, because that technically never transpired for her in the past where she died. So there is the possibility of this rekindling and happening all over again, but you still have Star-Lord, who has all those memories and all the history with the Gamora that died, and he's now placing those feelings for the Gamora that died onto the deviation. Let me clarify that.
I don't know if she's the other one. We haven't seen that movie yet. You can go to some versions of that movie, which would also be deviants and deviations of the Guardians of the Galaxy movie they're watching. But those ones would definitely, I'm guessing, be deviants in those situations.
But it sounds like what we're describing is really a question of quantum mechanics.
Part of
how you break down the idea of, are you a sum of all your experiences, or is it tantamount to, like, if you go backwards in time, you've lost those experiences? Is it similar to
no, it's a different
time-based amnesia?
If you're,
you never had that experience, you never gained that experience or that memory. Are you a different person?
No. It's for sure that you're not that person, unless there's some kind of miracle by God that happens. But we're not talking about the real world. We're talking about Marvel world, Marvel universe logistics, and how it's constructed, Marvel universal construction or whatever.
We're talking about retcon.
In that place, every different choice you make is a different dimension. Ergo, it is a different real, in that dimension, in that timeline, real person, but they're not the person in your home dimension. They're not that person in another dimension. Once you split off, that is a different one. And you have all the routes that they take. But definitely within the Marvel canon, within at least what it was, every time there is a different split, every time there's a different decision, there is a different universe born from which splinters off. It becomes a whole universe, a whole different dimension, whole different timeline. And that's what would happen with Gamora. She's dead in one, she's not dead in the other. She was dead in one, and if they go back and change the one they're in, the one that they're currently in,
right,
they might change the one that they're currently in, and it can proceed. But the fact is, it did happen there because they still, the other characters, the world is literally missing one person. It's missing one aspect, that being Gamora, and it has, in addition to that, the pain and the sadness, which is added to Thanos and to Star-Lord.
So we're going off of Back to the Future rules.
No, I'm going off of Marvel rules.
You go back in time, you will also see your past self.
It's a different. Anytime you go, if something's changed, it's a different place. It's a different dimension, according to Marvel. How Marvel dimensions, how Marvel time.
Right, the idea of a multiverse, but that's I'm not gonna go down the rabbit hole. We're basically describing, with a combination of Marvel and the application of what we know of time travel based on pop culture, which is mostly Back to the Future rules. It's the idea that you go back, it's a different person now if you've gone back, which is how Marty McFly is able to see himself up doing what he did in the first movie, even though he's in now a leather jacket and doing stuff in Back to the Future 2. So
you are different, but anytime to make it even clearer, when you're in your home universe, when you decide to leave, when you decide to go to some other place,
Right.
you've broken that dimension. You've broken that dimension in the future. So what you would say is that dimension is now split off from where you originally were. But to bring this all back home, I did like the movie. I liked it more than pretty much any other Marvel movie that's come out in the last 10 years or something. I still hate that they made the mentally disabled Groot, and I also don't like some choices they made. But I think this was a better movie than
Hey, Cran,
all the others.
for the record, how many recommendations is that now that I've given you that you've liked?
What recommendations?
As far as shows and movies to check out.
Which ones? You suggested Stranger Things.
Okay.
And this one.
Okay.
What other ones have you suggested?
Those are the two that I know off the top of my head.
Okay. Well, you get the other four. You can go ahead and you can let me know.
I'm honestly surprised. I thought you would have found it to be trite and annoying.
No. I mean, there were parts that I didn't like, but the ratio of things that I hate to things that I like in this movie, it was way more things that I liked in this Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special than I disliked. I disliked maybe like 10%, maybe like.
What did you guys think of the song? The band and the song?
I didn't like I thought that was an exact representation of where we're at in society and how Christmas is regarded in society right now. And I think it's a very bleak, black, depressing, without hope kind of view. I don't like it. I think it's people who've been broken and they don't know how to cling on to those things. I think
it was the irony that made it funny. That's my opinion.
Yeah, though. I think it rode the line of that and also kind of hanging a lantern on that to identify the fact that it's so sad and horrible and a terrible song. So it's also like you're in on the joke, and the fact that Peter Quill is hating the song actively, that you're not supposed to, he's not like, yeah, this is great, everybody. Yeah, no, he's like, no, this isn't what Christmas is. This is horrible.
Oh, what are you talking about? Are you talking about the beginning song?
Yeah.
With the alien group?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess they were both alien groups. I like that. I really liked it. It was slightly off, but I think they got the spirit of it, despite the incorrect and things that were opposed. Like they got things wrong, but the spirit of the song was more in line, and I did enjoy it. I did enjoy that. I was talking about the one with Kevin Bacon. I hated that.
Yeah,
I didn't like that, and I thought that was more in line. No, the first one I enjoyed. I don't want to listen to it as a Christmas song. I can say it's a Christmas song. I don't want to listen to it as one.
Sure.
But I sympathize. I empathize with Peter Quill and how he hates it. So I like that.
It really, really reminded me of the song Merry Christmas from Chiron Beta Prime.
Yeah.
Which is like an kind of anti-Christmas song because it's about this family that's set in the future where they're having to work on an asteroid, Chiron Beta Prime. And
they're slaves or forced labor.
Yeah, they're forced labor to mine
robots from robots.
Yeah, from robot overlords, and like parts of the song get redacted by the robots because they're trying to send a message to try and get rescued. And Santa Claus gets like vaporized in the song and stuff when he's trying to save them. It's good stuff. It's good, clean fun.
Yeah, it's similar.
Yeah, very, and even in literal tone, not just idea. It was very similar.
But the other thing was, it also showcased how good Christmas is and how good like that whole thing is, Christmas songs and everything, by showing the bad aspects. Like, no, this is bad. That means the other thing's good.
Some might say universal.
Yeah, freaks.
Aliens.
So they're really toying around with the Celestials. This is just my take on this. I mean, they made the connection of Peter Quill and Mantis being brother and sister through the Celestial Ego, who was killed off.
Yeah.
We know that after he was killed off, all of a sudden they didn't quite have the powers anymore that came from the Celestial.
He wasn't a Celestial in the comics.
Right. What exactly does it mean to be the child of a celestial, and why is it that when the celestial is killed, you no longer have the powers of that celestial as far as ego?
This is all movie canon,
Right.
or like really recent Marvel canon. I
But
don't know.
that being
So
said, I would say
I'm wondering, are they going to retcon this in Volume 3?
I think it might be he's no longer getting it from the main source, which is his father and his direct connection to his father. Basically, his ego, the living planet, being a kind of battery, giving him the energy that he needs to have those abilities readily available. But I think in Volume 3, more than likely, he's going to have his latent abilities come up because he's now going to realize that it's connected probably to his emotions and that kind of stuff. And once he's doing, what needs to be done for my friends, then it'll probably unlock, is my guess, and he'll have powers.
So speaking of Volume 3 and latent abilities, do you guys think Star-Lord's going to die off in Volume 3?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think he's going to sacrifice. He's going to get his powers. They're going to come from his father, and he's going to feel conflicted. Oh, it's from my past, my evil father. Oh, I have to sacrifice myself because I have to correct our legacy. I have to be better. I have to represent us better. And so I'm going to sacrifice myself with the power I inherited from my previous predecessors. And so I'm going to do that, and I'm going to die and save everyone else who's different than me. I'm going to save them all, and they're all going to be better. And they're going to know that I was a pure person because I stood opposed to my father and because I used my power to elevate them. That's what I think will probably happen.
I'm going to say no.
Okay.
And the only reason I'm going to say no, because obviously they could easily go down that route, super easy. They're getting rid of most of the legacy characters, even though the Guardians are kind of on their own situation, so they're not considered necessarily the legacy characters, but they've been around almost as long as the Avengers. Most of the Avengers are all gone. They're going to try and start bringing in the new guard, all these new heroes that are
all
way less interesting. Majority of them, yeah. And so
gone after Volume 3. I'm pretty sure Star-Lord is gone after Volume 3.
Yeah, no, they are.
I'm going to say no. And the only reason I'm saying no is based on the fact that it's the tone and kind of the spirit of the movies, specifically the Guardian of the Galaxy movies, is that it's very light. It's light, but there's obviously emotional impact. I don't think they're going to go that dark with it, where he kills himself, but I do think he's probably going to be like, hey, I'm retiring. Here's the keys. I'm going to go, and me and Gamora are going to go have a honeymoon.
He killed his dad.
Right.
How's that not dark?
Ego is not a main character.
And his dad killed all of his children, except for Peter Quill in the what's her face?
But none of those characters matter. None of us have an emotional connection to them. But we do to the main Guardians. I'm saying in the context of storytelling.
Okay.
So I think they're not going to kill him off, but I do think he's probably going to retire from being a Guardian.
What do you guys think of the introduction of the newest Guardian?
You can say what you thought. What did you think?
What do I think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think Star-Lord is going to die in Volume 3. There's a pretty revealing scene in the trailer where they're walking out and they're carrying him. And it looks as though he's gone. I think that there's a reason why they're bringing Adam Warlock in. And we're going to see some things happen in Volume 3. That's just my 2 cents. I think that Star-Lord is dead after Volume 3, as far as the movie universe is concerned.
He's not actually dead, though. If you go back into the past, it's still him.
It's still him.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. The same guy.
They already started introducing other characters in the holiday special. They did have a character that they introduced. Did you guys catch on to that?
Kevin Bacon, yeah. They totally reintroduced him, and they introduced him. I can't wait to see more Kevin Bacon scenes. How he helps out
there. I'm talking about, you know it.
What?
There's a certain dog in a spacesuit.
Oh.
You mean, well, didn't they introduce Cosmo in The first one?
I don't think so. Did they? Or was he in the?
He interacts with Rocket.
I think you see him.
Yeah.
It's not.
You
like
see him, but he's not really hanging out with them. And then in the
right, and he's
holiday-
not talking in Russian. I know that.
Yeah. He's interacting with them, and he appears to be there as part of the group, which I found pretty interesting because in the comics he is part of the group. So I'm hoping that they toy around with that a bit more. I do think it's going to be pretty interesting to see some of the backstories that we haven't gotten quite yet. And as far as like being dark, if you know anything about Rocket Raccoon's backstory and what they're kind of like alluding to for Volume 3, I think this movie could go to the darker side of things.
Him getting flashbacks of experimentation.
Yeah, and then his love interest and whatnot.
Cosmo.
Yeah.
What?
No.
Cosmo.
They're gonna make out.
Gamora.
They're gonna make out.
Oh yeah,
Gamora.
yeah, right, yeah.
Pervert. Man, he's a real deviation.
You deviation. I actually really liked Cosmo in the game too that came out I believe beginning of last year like right around there. Really fun addition. He's like a quest giver basically in the game, and it's good stuff. Which also I highly recommend the game. If you enjoy the tone of the movies, go play the game. It's totally worth it. And it's a good, solid video game.
Should we give a brief synopsis of the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special?
Sure.
Well, I'll just say, so you show up there, you hear that Peter Quill had a terrible Christmas. He celebrated a horrible holiday called Christmas. It was an Earth holiday, so obviously debauched and full of horrible torment and things. But the moth lady, I forget her name.
Mantis.
Mantis. I was thinking Mothra.
When Mothra is sister.
So Mothra and Draxinator, they decided to give Peter Quill. They decided the Deviator. They found out that that Peter Quill had a holiday. He had Christmas and he really misses it and he loved it. And they're like, well, because I'm his sister or whatever. She tells Drax she's his what's her name? Mantis. Mantis tells Drax that she's Peter Quill's sister, and she's like, I want to tell him, I want to give him something like good because he lost Gamora, because all the sad stuff. And she's like, so let's go get him a Christmas. So they go to Earth. They try to find Christmas. They try to find what is Christmassy in Christmas. They find Kevin Bacon, the best hero in all the land. Then they kidnap him and bring him back.
Peter had told them about multiple stories.
Yes, they bring him back. They kidnap him. They brainwash him. They bring him back, and then they bring him to the space station. They have him unwrapped from his box he was placed in, and then he gets. Then they have a nice time.
And Kevin Bacon freaks out because he's kidnapped by aliens.
Peter Quill freaks out. He's like, "You can't kidnap people. You can't steal people." And then they have a nice gift exchange with everybody, including Gamora's sister. I forget her name. Nebula.
Quadrille.
Yeah, Quadria. I was saying the Nebula, not Galaxia. Galaxia would be a deviation, which would be great support.
You guys, okay, I'm gonna share this. I'm gonna share this with you real quick. You guys made me look this up because I was so convinced. Like you guys said not deviants. You guys are talking about DEVIANTS, right? I am talking about DEVIANCE, which is an actual word, and there's a definition correctly.
Not deviants. Deviants. Okay, I get you. Okay, I thought I heard deviant.
Minus, not minus.
Deviants and deviant are different. I heard deviant.
How did I use this wrong? I'm like freaking out over here. Like, you're kidding me. Like,
did you say deviant or deviants? If you said, okay,
deviants.
We're wrong. Deviant. Deviance is deviance.
Minors, not minors.
Okay. I see. I think the pronunciation is a little bit. Anyway, so
That's good.
so they bring him back. They have like a celebration, and then they bring Kevin Bacon back to Earth or whatever. I think. Right? We don't see him.
They hang out, and then eventually Peter Quill takes him back to Earth.
Yeah, it's implied.
Yeah,
because of the implication, they bring him back to Earth.
Yeah, human trafficking.
Yeah,
which is great. It's a great thing.
As we all know.
And with that, we end the episode.
I really liked the entire special. I thought it was. What?
So, by the way, we do not support human trafficking.
What do you mean?
Clarify that position.
We don't support human trafficking. I love human trafficking on planes, on boats, and cars, and over the oceans and subways. Trafficking people is the best thing in the world.
When you're
We're not talking about people in traffic. We're not talking about people in traffic, Cran.
Deviant, wait, trafficking. You're talking about trafficking.
Deviant people. Deviants.
You're talking about taking people places, right? That's what human trafficking is, right?
Like when you're a really good racer, you're the best.
I love being human trafficked. Although when the trafficking is really slow, like when I'm in the middle of the freeway, it's like 2 miles an hour. I can't stand it. I wish I could get trafficked like Kevin Bacon was.
Oh gosh.
No,
light speed.
And I wish that they had those sweet satellites that they had in Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. I wish that we had like a Starlink version of whatever that was to get like good signal everywhere.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Honestly, I actually really like the tech in this special too. It was legitimately fun. Shows like a slightly more interesting way of like traveling through space. And I early on I thought it'd be very much like TV budget for when. What?
Yeah.
The candy cane.
The candy cane.
Yeah.
That's what tipped it over the line for me.
Yeah. I think it was great.
I do too. I loved it. I love the fight. I love the chase scene where it's showing Drax and Mantis chasing after Kevin Bacon. I was like, yes, this is actual like what superhero movies should look like. You should see people doing these things and people being like, what the crap is happening?
Kind of horror-esque.
Yeah, you're like, well, these people are definitely not normal and chasing after him and everything. It's great. Yeah, I loved it. Drax's coloration was a little odd to me. I don't remember seeing anything where his colors change, and so I was a bit surprised, and it was a little odd to me to see him in different coloration.
Yeah,
but I think it's closer to the comic book representation of how he used to look like in the comics prior to these movies.
Yeah,
there's always like a subtle change to the characters from one movie to another.
Yeah,
it's all in the costume designer and
costume change.
Yeah, but his skin color changes from green to gray.
His mood changed. And
makes sense.
Mood ring,
yeah, totally. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty awesome. You get to see some pretty cool stuff with Drax just like punching through cars and just like flipping stuff. And the whole time he's laughing as he's getting shot because it tickles him. Like,
yeah, I thought that they did better power scaling in this movie than I've seen in other Marvel movies because they're shoving everybody into the other movies, like just jamming them in together. And you're like, oh, we can't have people that stand out or whatever. I hate that. And I thought that they did a better representation of the abilities of the characters in this movie than in other ones.
I love the leaping over the fences.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty awesome.
Very awesome.
I think it's in a good place to lead into Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Yes.
I love how creepy Mantis is.
She's slightly creepy. Not as creepy as Drax.
I don't mean the fact that she can like read your thoughts and like control you and that kind of stuff.
I'm not talking about that.
The fact that she's leaping and like insect-like off of buildings and stuff, I thought that was really conveyed well.
Yeah.
Like, if I was a normal human being and I saw a person with antenna doing that, it would be disturbing.
And I thought that would be closer to what Spider-Man should look like when he's fighting.
More rapid, just
he's not like slow when he jumps places, and I think that they haven't gotten that right, except for maybe closer in the Amazing Spider-Man series.
Yeah,
but yeah.
As far as like the Tom Holland series go, I don't think that they've done a really good with the fight scenes. That's just my personal opinion.
No, I agree with that.
They do a lot of cool stuff with special effects, and I think that, you know, the movies are great for what they are, but they could definitely showcase Spider-Man's talents and his abilities a little bit more. Just my personal take on that.
I think they have an over-reliance on tech for Tom Holland's Spider-Man, where he has to utilize the suit too much and not his inherent abilities.
And the other thing is, I think they don't want Spider-Man to come off creepy, but part of the comics and part of the things that have been going through since like the inception is that he creeps people out
Sometimes,
as is a hero, like a really good guy.
Yeah. From
Yes. Yeah. But as well as he gets like he's good morally, but he also is creepy. He's a wall crawler. He's supposed to look very insect or arachnid-like.
Yeah.
He's supposed to. Yeah.
So Adam Warlock. Who's excited to see Adam Warlock in Volume 3?
I am very, very mixed on it. I think the character is interesting in the comics, sometimes a little dull, but the actor and the way that they're doing his design, I'm not crazy about. I'm giving the actor some chance because I think he could do a good job. I've seen him do comedy and serious roles, so I'm like, okay, yeah, it could be good. But I'm not totally confident in the execution yet.
Okay.
I'm not interested. I'm not looking forward to it.
Not at all?
I'm discouraged. I
You
mean,
didn't like anything dealing with Adam Warlock in the comics?
well, the thing is, if they brought Adam Warlock and they represented him as in the comics, they brought Adam Warlock in total, as a whole, and how he is in the comics, and they brought him into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I'd be like, oh man, that is so awesome. He's going to be like one of the top characters. He's amazing. What a great character. That's not, I don't have faith that that's going to happen. So no, I have disappointment. I have excitement of the character, but that can be easily trashed. Like my expectation versus what I receive is going to be probably closer in line to what I've experienced with all the other, or the majority of Marvel characters that they brought into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'll have hopes and then they'll be dashed. But at this point, I don't really have hopes. I'm just like, oh, it's going to be another crappy character that they introduce.
I will say this.
Different colors, put them in.
I'll say this. I think that the fact that he is a way less known character gives him the most potential to have freedoms to be a more interesting character in regards to the MCU. The fact that he's not a well-known character and he's part of the cosmic side and like Infinity War, Infinity Quest, all of those comics and those storylines, I think he will have the most potential to be an interesting addition, and not be hampered by way more years and way more opinion of his character, like a lot of these characters are. Very reminiscent of the first Guardians when that came out, because not a lot of people knew who the Guardians of the Galaxy were, and so that was a very fun and exciting movie, and the characters are fairly close to the comics.
Okay. I say like half, maybe.
I'm flirting with a dangerous line with my excitement for Volume 3, and let me kind of lay this out. So Volume 1, I think everybody was excited for. I didn't really have a huge knowledge or background knowledge of the Guardians of the Galaxy at the time when Volume 1 came out. I was still learning about them. Volume 2 came out. I definitely knew quite a bit more. So I wasn't, I guess, ecstatic about Volume 2. Like, I wasn't like, oh, this is going to be like the best Marvel movie ever. What I can say is consistently Guardians of the Galaxy has delivered so far. And even with this holiday special, it's left me with more hope than less as far as Guardians of the Galaxy is concerned.
Okay.
I am a little concerned, though, because you do have multiple characters that are going to be leaving the series after Volume 3. And that tells me that either you have the actors who are just done with the characters, or there's writing that they don't like, and so they're moving on from it.
Well, Batista said he doesn't like the character. I mean, he likes the character. He doesn't like. He's
he doesn't want to be stuck in that role.
Yeah,
and
well,
he doesn't,
well,
because
also
that's what people see him as now. Whenever they cast him, they think
well, also,
Drax.
well, also he gives like he also gives like a set line to give. Like he's always says something dumb or whatever in response to somebody's question. What's a cop? I don't know. Isn't that funny? So he's that, like, for everything, or almost everything. He had more character development, or like he had like more of a complex character in this movie than he has in like the past two. So, you know, I thought this was better than the first or second. I think it was either close. It was either even with the first or better than the first.
Wow.
And I think it was definitely better than like a lot
That is
of the other Marvel movies.
That is an opinion. Wow. I would say that I like it as a great companion piece. I might like it slightly more than the second one, but I still think the first one is slightly better for me. And I think even the Drax character is handled slightly better in the first one. He has more character moments that show who he is.
Bye, Capus.
Bye.
Bye. We're gonna see when he comes back in. But go ahead, keep going.
I would say I think Drax actually had more opportunity to be a true character and not just a punchline spouting machine, which he is more like that in the second one and a little bit in this too, where I think he's given much more to do and much more complexity in the first movie.
He's given more. I kind of want to hear Capus Eli's opinion on this, but I do want to say that he mentioned that he got more hope from the holiday special than he got with the other Marvel movies or the other Guardians of the Galaxy movies. He thought that it was coming around to something better.
Dave Bautista did.
No, Capus Eli. I'm talking about him.
Oh, yes.
And so he thought that it was better. I'll just go ahead and add. Okay. Hey, what's up?
Hey, I guess
Hey.
my internet went out, and I don't know.
It did.
It's all good.
Yeah.
It's good. So I was just explaining that your point on thinking that this was hopefully you saw this as like a better movie, and you're hoping that this carries on into the next volume, into volume 3 of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and maybe for other Marvel movies. I
don't know. I'm not saying for other Marvel movies. I'm saying specifically for Guardians of the Galaxy. I have a little bit of hope that they can do right with this.
For Guardians of the Galaxy, I don't think that. I would hope that, but to me, I think this had less attention than the two volumes, the other two Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and I think that as they were closer to the main cinematic universe, they had more attention. This one was a one-off, and they could be more creative. They could be more independent and try things, experiment, and do some better work in this one, because I agree with you, this was better. Then I think that they were able to do this, and I think if they went to a volume 3, I kind of think they'd probably change things to fit more in line with how the rest of the MCU movies are going. And if not, if they're not told to change for the next one, I think the fact that it will have more attention and it will have to be more, stringent. I think that it being, one of the primary movies, I think that will affect. I think it will be closer to the other two volumes, or closer to the general MCU movie that you see now. I hope it's better. I hope it's better. I like good movies.
Yeah, I think that the storyline and the actors and the writers kind of all have a direction that they're going with this, and my hope is that they stick with that direction and that they don't deviate and decide to introduce some of the other things that they've introduced in like Thor and Doctor Strange as of late. I think that, you know, if you're going to end this series, end it on a high note, and then reintroduce whatever characters you want and do what you want in that. But you know, we've kind of got a good cast and a good backstory around characters. It would be hard to mess them up at this point. We are going to have a few new introductions. I'm waiting to see how those all work out and if they're going to be good or bad. I think I have kind of an idea of like what Adam Warlock's thing is going to be, because I have a little bit of background knowledge of the comics, and from watching the movies, you can kind of see like this might be where they're going with it. I don't want to spoil anything yet because I'm not entirely sure, but we'll watch the movie and we'll find out, and maybe we'll give you an update on that when that happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will say this: is James Gunn directing the third one?
Ooh. I can look that up real quick.
Because if James Gunn is, that's going to mean a very significant change to the writing and the ultimate ending to the Guardians story that he's been telling. But if not, that's also going to mean that they could be going in a very different direction than what was originally intended.
So the director is James Gunn, and director is James Gunn, producers Kevin Feige.
Okay, Feige. I don't think that.
Yeah, Kevin Feige. My bad.
I don't think that they would. Yeah, I don't think they'd want to get rid of him, especially not on the third one. I think they definitely want to make sure we have our moneymaker here. Well, the only thing that I'm thinking about is obviously it's outside of the realm of the story in general, but the fact that you have your director and writer, and he is a character or a guy who loves these characters. He was the one that introduced them into the MCU and has a very clear, iconic style to what he did with his movies versus other directors and writers. And on top of that, he is no longer going to be involved in anything Marvel related. He is now heralding everything for DC.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean in regards to what he's done on this movie? That's what I'm curious to see, and what the direction is going to be. If you have a guy who's never coming back to these characters, what's he going to do in his last movie? I think what I've noticed from James Gunn is that he's probably going to go all out. He's going to try to get everything he wants done in these movies with these characters done. For the time that he has them, he's going to try to get them to that point where he wants them, and to ensure that they're there, and to ensure that that's how they turn out when he leaves. So does that mean we're going to be getting a Lord of the Rings Return to the King, or where it has like it's a 3.5-hour movie? Or does that mean we're going to be getting a Spider-Man 3 and it's going to have multiple extra characters kind of wedged into the movie that may actually dilute the overall story, and people end up actually complaining about it?
Wait, which Spider-Man 3 are we talking about here?
What?
Which Spider-Man 3 are we talking about here?
Oh, that's a good point. It's weird to think about.
Well, it can't be the first one. They already had the 3. Yeah. So if they took what they got from this movie, Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, and they applied it to the other Marvel movies, I think that they would do well. Well, they're not doing badly right now, but I think they do a lot better than what they have been at. So, yeah. Depends on if they want money more, or if they want to say what they want to say more. If they want to say things to society, or if they want to sell tickets, there are different stories that you can tell. There's different.
I think we're gonna see a shift happen in the movie universes. We see the direction Marvel's going right now. I think with the creation of the DC Cinematic Studio and James Gunn leading that up, I have a lot of faith in what he can do with that. And we could see some pretty good storylines come out of that. So I'm looking forward to more DC stuff that is appetizing.
I'm excited to see an action Frankenstein.
That would be pretty cool.
That's one of my favorite things from DC Comics is the fact that Frankenstein is basically a special agent who looks like a stereotypical Frankenstein, so like super ripped and carries like a giant sword. I like that. I think that's fun.
He didn't really carry a giant sword, and I don't think he had this
In the
kind of
comics,
superhero outfit. You said in stereotypical. The comics aren't the
stereotypical Frankenstein look. You got gray skin sewn all over.
Yeah, green
The
skin
big studs on the neck.
in the comic as well.
Grayish green. Thank you very much. There's a hue.
Okay.
But be getting an actiony Frankenstein is awesome. I'm very excited about that.
I didn't know that was going to happen, so that's pretty cool.
I'm not looking forward to any of the movies. If they redo the entire universes or whatever, I'd be more excited about that.
They basically are.
We'll make recommendations for the good ones for you.
With what's his name? With James Gunn, that you probably do better with the DC IPs than have been. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. And that's where the Frankenstein's going to be. He's basically restarting the entire DC universe.
I'm talking about Marvel movies.
Oh, yeah.
Well, but actually DC too. So
kind of a squirrel moment here, but are they going to release that Flash movie, or is that done?
I think it's actually coming out.
Okay.
That's good. I look forward to seeing him chase women around Comic-Cons, especially pregnant women. And I really want to see him chase after like some underage girls and stuff, and chase them away from their parents. I want to chase them away. I want him to chase their parents.
Like the fact that they even casted the guy as the Flash in the first place makes me so angry. Hey, DC,
he's great at running.
You want to listen?
From his responsibility,
and I will cut this off, and I will be the Flash for you guys if you guys want to cast somebody that actually knows the part.
Yeah, that'd be good. Be good. You have to lose some. You have to put on some muscle.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'll start working out. I'll get cut. I'll get ripped.
I'll get cut.
All right.
Lies.
Okay. Now you will have to give up your groups that you have, your private groups where you go around, and they don't want you back in Hawaii. I'm sorry, they said you're not allowed back in Hawaii.
You're not allowed in Hawaii.
So you're not going to be able to go there again.
Wait, the Flash isn't allowed to be?
No, you won't be able to.
Wait, why can't I go to Hawaii?
So you're going to be the Flash, and the current Flash isn't allowed in Hawaii again, so you're going to have to go.
No, we're not.
Nah.
And no more of those groups, mister. No more of those groups.
Oh, God.
Ixnay on the groups, Gray.
The only upside that I see to the Flash coming out, though, is the fact that we will finally get to see Michael Keaton Batman again. That's the only upside to this entire situation.
Yeah, I guess.
Like the Flash, I'll be running at top speed away from the ticket booth, if you know. People will be screaming.
I'm not going to do anything to support him in the theater, that's for sure. I think that that's a mistake to release it in the theater. I think if they're going to do anything, they should release it like an HBO Max release.
Yeah.
Like they did with the Snyder Justice League.
I agree
I think it would be the same thing. You know, you kind of kill the income that's been earned from that. Yeah, you spent a whole bunch of money on it, but you take the hits where you do. Yep. And you do right by the people, because this guy shouldn't be making $1 off of anybody after the stuff he's done.
I'm just going to say this. The fact that we're not getting Batman Beyond movie is a travesty.
It is very much a travesty. I agree. They
Michael
need
Keaton
to
as old man Bruce Wayne, and you got Terry McGinnis being a total boss with like the super cool suit and the claws that come out and everything. Waste. Biggest waste I've ever seen.
Not really.
I don't
like the current Batman.
What if James Gunn does move forward with a Batman Beyond?
They should. And you don't want Batman Beyond from the current Snyder-ish universe of.
No, they're not. It's not going to be that.
Snyder-ish universe. I wasn't saying I was. So you're not going to have like, it's not going to be from this Snyderish kind of universe, DC universe, Batman Beyond. So you should look forward to having somebody else take the reins, and maybe eventually later on they do or James Gunn, whoever does do a Batman Beyond that's possibly more faithful to, or less cringy,
I can dream.
terrible than the current Batman or DCU versions.
I can dream.
Portrayals of the heroes.
So James Gunn has said that the most recent The Batman is actually considered a Elseworld situation. So they're going to keep making a sequel to that, but it's not considered the main universe that he's establishing. So we could get a
so
Batman
we could have
Beyond.
another Batman.
Yeah.
Just one.
So it means having two Batmen going concurrently in theaters, which could be different.
Well, I mean, that kind of runs with the comics.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know how though. How could you have two different Batmen, especially if they have the same mother and father and Alfred?
Alfred.
They're all the same.
No, one's Gollum Alfred, and one's like, oh, Mr. Wayne.
Wait, isn't Alfred the Joker?
What?
Isn't Alfred the Joker?
Yeah, he is. You're a Joker. You're a card.
Pain, physical pain.
Riddle me this.
Yeah, you're aces in my book. I'd bet on you. What?
I said such an enigma.
Yeah, oh, a mystery. Yes. All right.
I was just gonna start naming Batman Beyond villains, but I refuse to.
I mean, I think since we're doing a Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special recap here, we should probably name off Guardians that we know, right? Like Cosmo and Rocket and Groot, because we haven't talked about Groot at all, and Groot's like the most beloved character in the Guardians.
Yeah, I think of Groot as more like a mascot, though. He's less of a real, tangible character
In the movies.
In the movies, at least.
In the books, he's awesome, and I really love Groot.
I do think they're going to do some more with him in Volume 3, and I like what they've done with the character design. And there's somebody that's kind of like taken that and broken that down. And I've watched a few videos on this, but like, have you guys noticed how he's a bit more built this time around? I was going to
say, he looks more like adult Groot.
Yeah. So I think that's going to come into play, which I'm pretty excited for.
It's starting to grow on.
Yeah, starting to grow on me. Yeah.
Let's leave it at that. Yeah.
Oh gosh. Oof. I have nothing.
Barking up the wrong tree.
Because Cosmo's a dog.
Oh. No, I was thinking bark, like tree bark.
Oh, that is even worse. Tree. That is so much worse.
It hurts me like a quill into the arm.
Ah, that's right. You're the lord of those jokes. Anyways, you're a star. If I
God, more of that.
You guys are alienating me from this conversation.
Okay, there's
time to explore the nebula.
Gamora, Drax, and then there's Iron Man. There's some. You also had Venom, but you had
briefly.
Yes, you had some characters that swap in and out, so they had like a rotating cast. I think they had the guy who had like the Human Torch's powers and like Iceman's powers combined briefly on the team.
Yep.
But they
Nova,
yeah, I think they had Nova.
It was one that I wanted to see, and I don't think we're gonna see him.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
They did the Nova Corp in the first one, but we didn't get Nova.
But they're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna highlight him as a single character. He's a little more niche, and even in the '90s, they kind of when he was at like his most popular, they still weren't really.
He looks a little too much like other characters, if you know what I mean. He looks a little too similar to some other characters, so they want to get some, else in it.
They could do his son though.
Yeah.
Which was rebooted in 2004, 5.
Yeah, I picked up the series.
None of this.
Or no, it was after 2004, 2005. I was like 2009, 2010, I thought.
Maybe. But anyway, they could do his son. I would have loved to have seen Nova. I think that would have been awesome.
You think he could explode
onto the screen?
Yeah.
Meh, meh.
Oh gosh.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
I'd say he'd be a new shining light in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
And with that, thank you for watching Notified, you nerds.
Bye.
But yes, go watch the holiday special. Even though if it's not even around Christmas, it's still worth it, and it's going to really inform key factors in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Yeah, I do think that part of the story is going to be relevant in Volume 3. The sibling relationship will definitely come into play. It might be the cause of the death. Who knows? But yeah, Volume 3, I'm excited for.
If I might say, if it's anything like the Guardians of the Galaxy, the holiday special, I think it'll be out of this world.
Oh,
you are hurting me.
Over the moon for the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I would love to. I'm looking forward to it. I might be, with all those great actors on the screen, I might be starstruck.
Oh gosh.
I am Groot. Thanks for watching, you nerds.
Which is a lie. And
Cranberry Landers,
the Wilhelm Scream.
And this is Nerdified, you nerds.
Bye. Bye.